Paul in Houston, Texas. It says here, Paul, that you disagree with me, so you go to the top of the list. What is your argument for torturing people?
Well, these people, let me ask you this. Have you ever been in the military? Have you served over in Iraq, Afghanistan?
No. I have been in war zones, though. I was in Uganda during the Civil War in 1980.
Okay.
And I've been in Darfur and Somalia with guys with AK-47s following me around. I wasn't shot at there. I was shot at in Uganda. I have some familiarity with what a war zone is like, but no, I've never been in combat.
Okay. Well, this is my perspective. I have. Okay, and these guys are going. Okay, we turned 5 of the worst out of Guantanamo Bay loose. Okay, if this information gets where we can kill the most wanted man in the world, I don't care what they did to him. If it saved American
but it didn't.
lives, yeah, it did.
No, it didn't.
It most certainly.
Read the Senate report. They came right out and said that there was no useful intelligence, and in fact, a lot of bad intelligence came out of this. We spent hundreds of millions of dollars running around the world trying to. In fact, we stopped a bunch of airplanes that were flying out of Europe because people told their torturers what the torturers wanted to hear, and it was total fantasy.
These guys are jihadist terrorists. They put themselves in that position. Whatever happened to them. Hey, they're cutting people's heads off. They're killing hundreds of thousands of people, innocent people, other Muslims.
So you're saying, Paul, that torture's you're saying that torture's just fine with you. If torture is so effective, Paul, hang on just a second here. If torture is effective, if you're right, that torture is something that's consistent with American values, and it's effective, and we don't give a rat's ass about somebody who's behaving badly, then should we start doing torture in the United States? Should we torture, for example, before people are brought to trial? Should we torture them when we interrogate them?
We're not talking about Americans. We're talking about on the combat battlefield.
We are talking about what America does.
That are combatants.
Right, but we're talking about what America does. But if torture works on the battlefield, wouldn't it work in Houston, Texas? Shouldn't you, Paul, if your next door neighbor accuses you of smoking dope in your backyard or molesting their kid or something, I mean, shouldn't you be taken down to the police department, strapped to a board, flipped upside down, and have water poured all over your face?
You're just like a liberal. You're putting this is totally. We're not talking.
It's a serious question, Paul. If we are a nation who tortures, where does it stop?
And I'd like to know where the importance of turning this information loose, where it really falls. And you said it's all political. It's I don't really care. I'm not for one side or the other politically. I don't really care. Okay.
I suspect you do. Most of us do.
No, you're wrong. You're totally wrong.
So you don't care if the president is George Bush or Al Gore. It doesn't matter to you.
No. When I was being deployed, I met George Bush at Fort Polk, Louisiana.
Right.
And I didn't want to go. They told you had to go. And to be honest,
to go where?
My family knows.
To go off to your military service? You mean?
No. To go see George Bush when he flew into Fort Polk.
Oh, I see. Okay.
You were forced to go to the airfield.
Yeah, because you were military. You were going to be one of the props for his photo op.
Pretty much. And to be honest, I shook his hand, told him I wouldn't vote for him because I joined the military. I knew what I was getting into, but did that mean I wanted to go? No. Right. Okay, yada yada. That's a whole other story.
No, I understand, and I respect and salute you for serving your country. Right. That said. And I get it. There are bad guys out there. And when you're at war with bad guys, you kill them. But when you take them prisoner, George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, Dwight Eisenhower, all of these guys during times of war, the Revolutionary War, the Civil War, World War II, all 3 of them said, treat our prisoners of war with respect. And what was the consequence of that? The consequence of that was that British soldiers and Hessian mercenaries in the Revolutionary War, by the thousands, surrendered to American forces because they knew they would be treated well and they didn't want to fight or die in the Revolutionary War. In the Civil War, Confederate soldiers in huge numbers, surrendered to Union forces because they knew that they wouldn't be tortured, whereas the Confederate prisons were actually torturing Union soldiers. In Germany, the Germans tortured American prisoners of war. In fact, they murdered 10,000 of them. But we treated German prisoners well. So what happened? As we invaded, as Eisenhower was leading the troops into Germany, German soldiers were running up to Americans going, I surrender, please, put me in your jail and feed me. I mean, there are good practical reasons to do what George Washington ordered his troops to do.
Okay, let me ask you this. When we first invaded Iraq, we took prisoners, no problem. Correct?
Yeah.
We're not taking military personnel at this point. We're taking average Joe Blow that's got an AK-47 that's a jihadist, or it's got an RPG, and their sole goal is to destroy anybody that doesn't believe what they believe. And
right.
It's a fine line, granted.
No, but you're right on that, Paul. You're right. But does that mean that we go into the Middle East? I mean, Saudi Arabia beheads people every Friday in Riyadh in the public stadium, right? That's who they are. Do we go in and say, here we are, the United States. We're going to tell you how to live. We're the example for you to live by. We torture people.
No, see, here's my thing, man. You got a picture with a guy with 5 severed heads that he's kneeling by.
Right.
Okay, do you really have sympathy for him? You know what I'm saying?
I have no sympathy for him at all. I want him either killed on the battlefield or arrested and spending the rest of his life in prison. I want him to be appropriately punished. But to say that we are the United States, we're the guys who torture, that's not what you signed up for when you joined the military, is it?
Me? No. Me personally, I would not, I would have a problem with somebody if I saw somebody tasering a terrorist like every 5 minutes. I wouldn't say nothing to him. Would I personally pull the trigger? I guess it'd be the same. But yeah, if this guy just came out the battlefield and he was a high value target, I say get the information you can get from him, because after dealing with these people on the battlefield, they're really cowards, and it doesn't really take much for them to break.
But that's the point, Paul. The way that we got the information from Khalid Sheikh Mohammed that laid out the entire 9/11 plot, because he put the thing together, the way we got that was by an FBI agent bringing the guy a sandwich and sitting and talking with him for several days, talking with him about his religion, talking with him about his family, getting to know him, developing rapport with him, and we got everything from him. This is how we got the information that led to bin Laden. Once we started torturing Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, he shut up. Once we started torturing Abu Zubaydah, he shut up. Several of these guys, when we tortured them, they gave us phony information that cost us American lives and cost us American treasure. Torture is not the way to go. Paul, thank you for the call. We'll be back. It's 15 minutes before the hour.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann. Visit thomhartmann.com for audio and video archive.
This is a matter of practical reality. Obviously there's a moral issue here, but there's also a practical issue. Torture doesn't work.